it took a while getting used to, because I'd never experienced a manager, a coach like him. He's very thorough. He's very, precise. He's a disciplinarian. He records training. He was the first manager that I came across that records training, records gym sessions. There's no hiding places. To give you a quick story. There was one game we played Crystal Palace away. I think we drew or we won, and I thought I had a good game. And he'll call you into his office the next day to analyse the game. And so I've gone in his office, sat in the chair, thinking there's going to be some good clips. And he had 26 bad clips of what I did
26?
wrong. 26, honestly. And he's clicking each one, and each time I'm sinking in the seat. So that's how he is as a manager. So for me, yeah, I'd love him to return, and not only to Tottenham, I'd love him to return into management, because I know I've worked under him. I know how good he is and how good he can be, and football's missing a top coach.
And now he kissed me on both cheeks and hugged me, and so much warmth. Like, I remember when he invited me around his house, and his wife come out with, cakes on a tray. Like, yeah, what do you want? What tea? Just the warmth and the emotional context to how he is something you probably can't teach. Mm-hmm. Like, you might not be able to go to university and get that qualification. That's cultural, it's charismatic. Yeah. And the minute he walked through the door, he walked in with this aura. When he was in a suit, the way he smelled, I remember it, that to this day I was straight away I was just taken back and was like, wow.
In football?
Pochettino kind of came to the club, and the bond I struck with him was really, really special. Like, really special. He was like a father to me for the year and a half I worked with him. And the only sad thing is the period of time wasn't longer that I worked with him for. I was made captain at 24, and I was feeling the pressure of being the captain in terms of just a bit of weight on my shoulders, trying a bit too hard, a bit too much, which is only natural, being 24, figuring out things. And he just came into the building and just removed that so quickly by communicating with me, finding out what was the matter, and even noticing that something wasn't, as I said, it's genius that he could, I didn't even know there was a problem. So yeah, obviously mentioning that period and Pochettino, a huge fond period for me that was.
I think for as much as the people behind this podcast and everybody listening to it adores football, it's a hard truth that the industry isn't necessarily jam-packed full of people who care, who are able to quickly understand human beings. Certainly in British terms, I'm a lot older than you, and British football for a long time was very like the army. You'll do as you're told. Yeah. You'll go out to battle. It was regimental. It was hierarchical. And then for a long time, football wasn't a caring, soft, interactive sport behind the scenes. The influx of lots of different continental ideas has gradually opened that. And I've spoken a dozen or more times to Pochettino on and off the record. And he's a very charismatic, interesting man with lots of different pictures in his head. And he's quite a romantic man. He thinks about life in romantic terms. And therefore, I think it's easier for him to try and go, I'm going to help this fella that ultimately will help me. Yeah. And I think he's skilled at that because it actually matters, the dialogue. Yeah. He's not just doing it as a task to go, let's get more out of one of my players. Nah, I think it matters.
He cares. And since that, I love falling in love with my managers. I love it. And he's probably the first manager that I've fell in love with. If we're going to speak on that level, if he was like a father figure to me. And I'm not embarrassed at all to say that.
It's a great expression.
Even I remember when I signed my new contract a few months later at the club, my mum, my dad, my sister, my wife, we went for food with Pochettino, Jesus, Tony, Miguel, and And the way he made my dad feel that evening, like so special, he just went out of his way, even though he didn't speak the language properly. And I was obviously young there and thinking like, I only appreciate it probably more now than I do when I was 24, because I'm a father myself now and I'm 10 years wiser. Just shows football's not all about tactics, coaching, it's about relationships. And yeah, he was like a father to me.
Feel a certain way. So my Premier League debut under Mauricio, I played in the under 21s at the time on the Monday night away at Sunderland because I was coming back for a little niggle. So at 70 minutes, the coaches said, "Do you want to come off? There's a game Wednesday." I said, "No, I want to play the 90 minutes." I didn't think I was going to play. Played the 90 minutes. The next day I come in and I trained with the first team because I'd been training with them. And I had so much energy. I don't know why, I had so much energy. And the following day we played Nottingham Forest at home and we were 1-0 down against a championship side with half an hour to go. And I remember he brought me and Harry Kane on. And the crowd were a little bit like, they were like, you heard this groan in the crowd. So it was almost to say, what's going on here? But I scored to make it 1-1. Harry scored one of the goals and we won 3-1. And I felt like, wow, he believes in me. And I asked back now, like John McDermott and the coaches at the time, they speak. And he asked, how did Ryan do Monday night? This was Tuesday. How did Ryan do? They said, yeah, his attitude was incredible. Asked him to come off at 70. He said no, he wanted to play for 90. He valued that so much, that desire to play, that go back to that youthfulness of, as a kid, you wouldn't want to come off at 70 minutes. Why would you want to come off at 23 years old playing a game of football? Some do. A lot of people probably would have turned around and gone, yeah, I'll come off, I'll protect myself. But that was just me. That was just the way I was. And that held a lot of weight with him. And he started me against Arsenal that Saturday, North London derby away from home in the Premier League. Yeah. And I was ready. I knew I was ready. I felt like it should have been years ago, but that moment came and there was no doubt that I was ready. The manager believed in me and it was okay, well, let's go and show what I'm all about. And
so what distinguished Pochettino then for you? What is it, the one quality that stands out that you think that's why he's a top manager?
Many things. It's tough. I mean, I'm working with a top manager now, and there's so many different things that they've got so many different attributes. But for me, in that moment, it was trust and belief.
Lovely.
Trust and belief. Quite simple, I guess. But the trust that he could play me in such a big game, probably our biggest game of the season. But then the belief that I could do it.
Brilliant.
And that gave me a sense of like, I can't let him down. Not in a fearful way. Absolutely not a fearful way. A way of, I'll do anything. I'm going to run. I'm going to do anything to prove that he was right. I trust that I'm good enough, but I don't want to play a bad game because it looks bad on him.